Hey guys, back with another video, and this one is about motivation. I feel like a lot of people kind of get into that rut, especially if like you've been kind of stagnant in your MMR and you're trying to climb. You don't really feel like you're getting better, and you feel like the best way to do that is to just continue to play and play and play and play. And eventually you get burnt out. You don't really want to play, but you're like, how else am I supposed to get better? How else am I supposed to get to this goal of maybe 4K, 5K, whatever your goal is? And so you just continue to play Dota, and you're playing and you're playing and you're playing, and it's just like you realize after a while you haven't really had fun. And chances are you've actually been pretty toxic to your teammates. I know that I've gotten to that point a few times where I'm grinding games, and all of a sudden realize that, like, wow, I haven't been nice to a single person that I've been playing with. I haven't really enjoyed any of the last like 10 games that I've played, but I just continue to play and I'm just going through the motions. And I remember going through this a lot when I was playing online poker. I would set like a hand number that I had to hit, and so maybe that was like play 1 million hands this year, and to do that you have to just grind and you have to play and play and play and play and play. And I made that poker goal all about just playing this number of hands and not about having fun doing that. And they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like, you can work hard and still enjoy yourself. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is trying to figure out how to have fun doing something that might not actually be the most fun thing. But remember, you're playing a video game because you love playing games. And so if you're not having fun doing it, just take a little break, right? There's other things that you can do to improve in the game that don't involve just playing the game. You can go watch a replay. You can watch a pro play and like get inspired to play again because you see somebody make an awesome play on stream. You can watch something funny, read some memes, do anything that doesn't involve just playing Dota again. Because even if you're on your favorite hero and you're in your favorite role and you're in a spot that should be comfortable to you, if you're not enjoying it because you're feeling like it's a grind, you're not going to play well. There's just no way that you're going to play super optimally, because you're going to be like already in the future of like, okay, once this game's done, I got to win another one and then another one and then another one. And if you're not present in the game because you're distracted by other stuff, you're just not going to play 100% up to your potential. So it's pretty simple. Just do something else. Go outside. Figure out a way to make Dota fun for you again. Maybe set some goals in game. Today I'm going to play this hero and I'm not going to care about the result because I want to learn this hero. Today I'm going to focus on trying to hit these last hit benchmarks. It could be anything, honestly, but just change it up so it's not just the same game over and over and over again, because that's not fun. It's not fun for you, and you're probably not fun for your team to deal with. So that's about it. Motivate yourself or take a break. Communication was a big point that people were asking about, communicating with people that are tilted. And those two things kind of take a slightly different approach, but there are some similarities. So obviously Dota is a team game, and you have 4 people plus you on a team, which 5 probably pretty big egos together trying to create a common goal. And sometimes you get those like miracle teams that are everybody's working together, everybody's communicating, it's great, but that's super rare. And the common experience is that you feel like you're alone in this game, almost in like a 1v9 situation, which is not real reality, but it feels like that. And what can help bridge that gap is proper and effective communication with your team. So how do you do that? Well, you gotta understand that in Dota, you are given the option to ping, to draw on the map, to voice chat, to textually chat, and people take information through different sources. Some people like to see it, some people like to hear it, some people like to actually do the action to learn best. And so giving people the most options by doing all those things when you want people to go somewhere and do a certain thing is going to be super effective in kind of covering all of your bases. The next thing is that people are more receptive to communication when they're in a good state of mind. So this kind of brings us to the how do you communicate with tilted people. And the number one thing is put yourself in their shoes, right? If you've ever been upset during the game, remember that when people then criticize you or tell you what to do, it makes you more tilted, like 99% of the time. Remember what makes you triggered when you are already kind of upset, and don't do that to other people. Like, it's super simple, you know? If you make a mistake, you probably know that you made the mistake. So having somebody tell you that you made the mistake does not help. Like, it just doesn't, it's not constructive, right? So the better thing to do is to kind of distract from that situation by then formulating a plan and leading by example, right? So if your team is kind of on tilt and things are not going well, it's your job to then present them with some positive options. And how do you do that? You can try to, you know, take an objective or whatever. You can try and back your team up. What I like to do sometimes is that even as like a carry or an offlaner who maybe isn't supposed to leave the lane super early, I will have a TP so that I can back my team up if they get dived under tower or something like that in a situation where I could help turn the tide. Because like I said, everybody feels alone in solo queue, and if you can help your team realize that you guys actually have your back, you're all in it for the same reason, then that can go a long way towards, you know, making your team play better. You're all at the same MMR. If you feel like you're way better than your team, then you probably should climb. And if you're not climbing, then maybe it's because your communication sucks and you're not actually helping your team win the game. So, you know, if your team's tilted, then give them a better option. Don't focus on the negative stuff. And one of the best ways that I've found to do that, to like get people to do something that you want them to do, is to not be like, go do Roche, because you're telling them what to do and they're already not receptive to you because they're upset and defensive. So instead, if you're like, hey, do you guys think we can do Roche? How about we do Roche? How about we push this tower and then go do something else? How about you keep pushing and then I will sit behind you and counter? Because if you present it in that way, it's like asking them a question, and yeah, you're like actually making the suggestion, so you're kind of calling a shot, but you're giving them the option to say no, and that's really important because, you know, people like to feel empowered in the game. They don't want to feel like they're just following somebody. So if you give people the option to make the decision themselves, if it's actually a good decision, they will come to that conclusion themselves, but you will present them with the option, how about we do this thing to help us win the game? And they can, you know, make that decision for themselves. And usually that'll also kind of help people snap out of like the really negative mind state of being like, oh, it's all on me and my teammates suck and everything sucks, because they'll have to start thinking about the game and how to win it. And that's really important. I wanted to talk about the sort of the origins of tilt, at least for me, what I've discovered. Remember, I'm not a psychologist. I haven't really studied psychology formally. I've just coached a lot of people and dealt with tilt myself throughout my competitive life, playing college sports and beyond. And so this is what works for me. And this is what I figured out why I personally get upset the most in a competitive environment. So specifically talking about Dota 2, it's the feeling of being powerless. As a human being, I think we naturally crave the control of our environment. That makes us feel safe. It makes us feel good when we feel like we are in control of the situation. And so when we feel powerless, it's the exact opposite. You feel afraid, you feel defensive, angry perhaps. And this is something that can happen pretty easily in a game like Dota, because you know, you're not in control of everything. It's a team game. You don't have the ability to make all 5 players play optimally. You can only focus on yourself. And so when something goes wrong, it is very easy to look elsewhere, to look towards your teammates as being the source of that wrong thing happening. Because another characteristic of being human is that we don't like to accept that we're at fault. I think this is just the case for like 99% of people. It's really hard at first to discover that you helped cause the problem, right? It's very easy to externalize the problem. And when you do that, you then actually feel more powerless. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle. You feel powerless, something bad happens, then you place that blame for that thing on somebody else, and you are now giving the power of what's happening to these other people who you can't control, which makes you feel even worse. And that will escalate your feeling of being upset, because you want to have an impact. You want to control what's happening, but you feel like you can't. And it's true that sometimes there's games that are like almost impossible to win. I don't know if necessarily a game is 100% unwinnable at all times, but the thing is that some games are harder than others, and you have to like play almost perfectly to win those games, and that's really difficult. It's a lot of pressure, and pressure to perform oftentimes, especially if you're not comfortable, will make you perform worse. And then once you perform worse, you suddenly start feeling like, oh no, I can't carry my team to victory. Like this is horrible. So instead, I'm just gonna lash out at them and tell them that they're bad, and if only you guys would play better, we could have won this game. But I mean, that's not constructive. It doesn't help you, it doesn't help your team. And the thing is that feeling empowered is such a positive emotion, and it has like this really big spreading effect. So realize that you're not the victim. There's always something you could do better. And if you can then take that and empower your teammates, and I've suggested it in another video, where if you kind of communicate to them that you have their back, you show them that you have their back, it empowers them. And then if that goes well, then you are now empowered, because people are looking at you as a leadership figure, and they will look to you for advice. And that's where you want to be as a person, right? You want to be in control. So instead of trying to seize control and put everybody else down so that they have to look up to you, which doesn't work, instead, like, elevate your team, and then they will look to you as that source of power for the team. And I know that's super difficult, especially with 4 random people who might not even speak the same language. But it's really all about kind of just practicing being like this positive, powerful force. And, I find that if I'm doing stuff like exercising and eating well and sleeping well, that goes a long way towards me feeling powerful in my normal life. And that translates into every action that I do. So if I go to the gym, I hit it hard, I feel strong, I'm gonna come into a game of Dota and feel strong in it. And it might sound a little bit ridiculous, but it's totally how it works, at least for me. So, give it a try. Empower yourself, and then play the game and see if there's a difference. Thanks.